It was an historic weekend for Oregon State basketball.
The number 7 seed in the West region.
The Oregon State men make the NCAA tournament for the first time in 26 years.
I couldn't be more proud as their coach.
And for the Oregon State women's basketball team, a third straight trip to the NCAA tournament and a second straight year of hosting. It's time now for Talkin Beavers.
Talkin Beavers is presented by Wilson Motors.
We welcome you in. A shot of the MU on the celebrant Oregon State campus.
Is that the same couple from last time?
Yeah, it may be, and they're still together. And the OSU men's and women's basketball teams going to the tournament together as opens go. That may have been the best open in the history of Talkin Beavers to see both teams go. Let's start a little bit. We'll get to the women later. Lamar, Lindsay, your thoughts about the men. The drought is over. 26 years in. You said at the end of the show last week, they're going to be in. You had the last word.
And I just want to say that Lamar and I spent like the whole weekend texting. I'm like, are you convinced yet? Are they in yet? Are they in? And then he said right before, he's like, they're in. Don't worry.
Well, you know, like I told you guys after that Washington State game, I felt like it was going to happen. I just didn't know how. I didn't know if it was going to take certain wins or other teams to lose. And we got both of those things. Other bubble teams lost. And, Lindsay, coming to find out, Oregon State, because of their performances down the stretch, were firmly off of the bubble.
Oh, my gosh. They were ranked number 28. I believe the number 28 overall seed by the NCAA. That is impressive. And, you know, the committee chair, Joe Castiglione, the Oklahoma athletic director, said on the conference call, no bad losses.
Yeah.
And he respected what they scheduled.
Yeah.
And that is a huge step in the right direction.
And they looked good down the stretch. I know we'll get into the play against Cal and P.J. Bruce later on in the show. But when you look good and make a good late impression when they're watching those quote-unquote bubble teams, it goes a long way, and it did for Oregon State.
You know, one thing, Mike, that stood out to me as we watched that open with, you know, both the men and the women were celebrating each other, too. They went to each other's selection shows, and I think that that's awesome because that camaraderie wasn't always there when the women were having a lot of success. I think there was some jealousy, and now that they support each other, and it's going to be, I think people in Corvallis are just taking Friday off. And you're going to watch, you can come to Gillen, you can watch the men's game. They should play it on the big screen, and then you can watch the women play.
Coach Ruick told me, he said that his message to Coach Tinkle was, get me over 1990, because he remembers that one-point loss for Gary Payton the Elder in Ball State. But Coach Tinkle is indeed taking the Beavers back in just his second year. And on that note, let's get to a Wilson Motors game ball.
Well, I think that it has to go to Wayne Tinkle in his second year. He takes a job that it is not as bad of a job as when Craig Robinson took it, but a lot of people consider it a bottom third of the Pac-12. He didn't have a ton to work with. He's playing 4 freshmen. And Lamar, to get back and to bring this community that's been so hungry for basketball for so long.
Yeah, I've maintained all year that I don't expect them to make the tournament this year, and it had nothing to do with the talent or the coaching. It was the fact that a second-year guy is taking over a program that hasn't been there in 26 years. I think it's an unfair expectation, but I'm not surprised that they did it. And I think people need to give Wayne the due credit in this. Because
Wayne for mayor, you said it last year.
And Wayne and his staff and the leadership around not only the basketball program, but the entire athletic department, they've set a different culture that hasn't been there. Because quite frankly, this isn't the most talented team that's been at Oregon State in the last 26 seasons. And I'm not even talking, this don't have nothing to do with me. The last 5 years alone.
Jared Cunningham's sophomore year.
I mean, there were teams that had the talent to get it done. And I remember talking to Wayne back when we were doing a selection committee to hire him.
Which you were on.
Yes, and I made it a point to ask all the coaches, do you even understand why this program hasn't been to the tournament in 26 years? And the first thing that came out of a lot of guys' mouth was, well, lack of talent. And I'm thinking, well, there's 2 guys in the NBA from the last 4 years alone, and it's not talent. A lot of people just don't understand what the issues were, and Wayne understood it. He's accountable. He's a disciplined guy, and I'll never forget, he and I sat together at the Pac-12 dinner during media day during his rookie year, and we spent 2 hours there side by side talking, and the things that came out of his mouth was about accountability, discipline.
Leadership.
You know, when they lost the game to Western Oregon, he didn't go back and talk to the team about X's and O's. He talked about making their beds. in the way they do things habitually, how they live their lives. And that's what it takes to put this program over the top. And he's done it. And hats off to him and his whole staff.
He has also been there with Montana. It's worth pointing out he understood how to get them there. He knew what it was going to take. So I think this is just the beginning.
It is. It definitely is.
And the thing that he said when he was at Montana that he talked about was there was at times in a one-bid league just being joyful that you got in. He's hoping that this Oregon State team, while it's a thrill to end the 26-year drought, that they'll want to do more than just make it, but dance a little longer. So we'll talk about that as we continue on Talkin Beavers. We've also got a lot on the Oregon State women's basketball team hosting What's on Tap, brought to you by Widmer Brothers Brewing, brewers of Oregon's favorite craft beer, the OSU women, celebrating in their very creative way, and more on that man, Wayne Tinkle, and his team's chances of keeping those shoes on for a while. Welcome back into Talkin Beavers. We gathered, hopefully, we being Beaver Nation, Sunday for the selection show on CBS to see if indeed the drought would come to an end. And with about 500 fans, all the women's and men's basketball teams both on hand, you know the great news. And we had a chance to talk to Coach Tinkle and a couple of players about getting in.
Yeah, I tell you, it never gets old. That was really something special. You know, people were trying to assure us that we were in, but until you see your name up there, and then to see as a 7th seed, what a thrill! What a showing here by Beaver Nation, and I'm just so thrilled for these guys.
I was nervous a little bit. It was good to see the big turnout here today. Everybody believing in us throughout the year, being able to do something that this program hasn't been able to do in a while. So it's definitely a special day.
A lot will be talked about between now and then, that this is the first time since your dad's team went 26 years ago. For you, GP2, what does it mean to have that sort of bookend experience?
It's more for the program, you know, just to get the Beavers back, you know, making noise, you know, have fans out here be excited about Beaver basketball in Corvallis. So it's more for the program. You
went through kind of a turbulent season at times. What were the things that happened that got you into this tournament?
Coaching staff, you know, really, you know, keyed on the preseason, you know, try to get as much wins as we can, you know, going into conference. We knew this year conference was going to be tough.
It was really a team effort, really a community effort. Everybody believing in us, the coaching staff, families, Beaver supporters. That was big keys for us making it here. And now we just got to go back to work and get ready for VCU.
These guys they'll enjoy this emotion for a little while, but I think as the day goes on, it'll really sink in, you know, what they've accomplished that really hasn't been done in a while here. So all the attention should be on our players because they put us in this position. I couldn't be more proud as their coach.
And he has certainly done a great job as the coach. Time now for the Toyota of Portland on Broadway tune-up as we take a look at the West Regional bracket, and the Beavers going to Oklahoma City to take on 10th-seeded VCU. The winner will get the winner of Oklahoma and Cal State Bakersfield. And it's time now for our In Focus Mondo Pad segment. In Focus Mondo Pad, collaboration that works, with Lamar Hurd getting ready to break down this bracket. Lamar, what do you got for us?
Mike, it doesn't feel right not having you up here. I feel kind of lonely right now, but I'll try to make do.
Are you more comfortable than Sir Charles Barkley in putting these things in place?
I hope so. I hope I don't make a fool of myself like Charles did. But for the first game, Oregon State VCU, this is one of those games where I think the teams are pretty evenly matched, but two totally different styles. It's not about who VCU has on their roster. It's how they play.
Right.
They press. They're going to try to cause havoc. This is where Oregon State could potentially miss Trace Tinkle a little bit because he's the guy that when you break the press, he can go finish it. Despite all that, you know I got to go with Oregon State first time in the tournament. 26 seasons. Got it. Okay, no Charles Barkley. Second game. I think this one is as easy for me. I know that there may be a 2 seed that loses in a tournament. I don't think it will be Oklahoma. And so because of that, I'm going to go with them here over Bakersfield. Bakersfield snuck into the tournament on a game winner in their conference championship. So they'll
coached by a sweet game winner.
Yeah,
and Rod Barnes, a guy that's been around a long time and a good coach.
Rod used to be over at Ole Miss. Okay, so now this is going to be the game.
Here we go. Lamar.
This is the one.
GP2, Buddy
Hield. That's going to be the storyline. But Oklahoma has some more help. Cousins, Woodward, 2 shooters, Ryan Spangler down in the post. Oregon State will have to play their best basketball in order to get this done. This has been a magical season. I think I called it 2 weeks ago that they would make it to this point. So I'm going with the Beavers on this one. I'm going with Oregon State. I don't think they get this far and don't finish the deal because after this win, they're going back to the West Coast. Now they're in Anaheim. Now we can have a bigger crowd at the games. So I think something special may happen.
So, Lamar, no heart or emotion in this pick at all.
No heart or emotion. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing, Mike and Lindsay. Oklahoma is going to be playing essentially a home game.
Right.
And so I think if Oregon State can keep this thing tight, the jitters will start coming for Oklahoma.
All the pressure's on the Sooners.
A lot of pressure. I just saw Oklahoma play a game at home against Baylor last week before the conference tournament. They were up 20 points, almost gave the game up. Baylor took the lead in the last 5 minutes. So I've seen them kind of choke at the end of games.
So to get there, to have the opportunity, though, Lamar, to get Oklahoma, let's go back to VCU a little bit and talk about the challenge that the Beavers have coming up against a team that's been in the tournament now 6 consecutive years and plays as they call it under Shaka Smart, the wreaking havoc approach. And they turn you over a lot. They're up-tempo, and we see that at least in the Civil War and a couple of other games, Lamar and Lindsay, the Beavers had a little trouble dealing with pressure.
I just want to say this, though, okay? Oregon right now could turn anyone over. Oregon has a great chance of going to the Final Four. So this is one of Oregon State's worst games. I think they'll be more poised. And look, I think that they're, are their backs against the wall is the question. They've played really well when their backs are against the wall. If they get down, maybe all the pressure goes away.
Well, Lindsay, great point. Oregon is one of the best defensive teams in the country. But really, we haven't seen Oregon State get pressed a lot throughout the season. I can't think of 3 games off the top of my head in which they got pressed all throughout the game. So this is going to be a different look than anything they've seen. And I really think the absence of Trace Tinkle, they'll feel it more in this game than maybe any other game they played other than the Cal game. And in the Cal game, you had somebody like P.J. Bruce step up and play the game of his life that helped them stay in that game and almost win it.
Listen, that might have just been a warm-up. He might have just been ready for the NCAA tournament.
Hey, before we get to more on PJ later, if the Beavers do take care of VCU and advance, what about Oklahoma? Buddy Hield. Tell us a little bit about Hield, but about maybe some of the other guys on that.
Let's talk about this first, okay? They play in the toughest conference in America. They are battle-tested.
Yep.
They took Kansas to the wire twice, I believe. They've got arguably the best player in the country, so they got a lot. But I can't wait to see him and GP2 match up against each other.
Player of the year in the country, most likely.
No. That would be Denzel Valentine.
You think so?
Michigan State.
It's a two-man race.
It's a coin toss right now. It's a coin toss. So, okay, second best player in the country.
Okay.
So you're still dealing with one of the best there is. They're tough. They're a tough, gritty team. And I hate to keep going back to Trace, but Trace is one of the Beavers' toughest players. I mean, this is one of those games where you really want to make sure you're at full strength, but I still think they'll be competitive, and I think they'll get the upset.
Well, we look forward to seeing that unfold. Lon Kruger, a great coach for that Oklahoma team. And speaking of great coaches, how about this guy? Scott Rueck, 3rd straight year, hosting again. Coming up next, we're going to break down the Beavers bracket as they take on Troy on Friday. Time now for the Standard TV and Appliance Scouting Report. Standard TV and Appliance setting the standard since 1947 as we take a look at Oregon State's women's bracket with both teams in the tournament together for only the 2nd time in school history. Lindsay, the Beavers and Troy in the opener.
Okay, first of all, Oregon State's going to roll Troy. They're playing so well right now. I have a lot of confidence that they're going to play like a 2-seed at home should. Then the NCAA tournament, as you both know, is all about matchups. Okay, we're excited about a potential 2nd-round matchup for the men. I'm excited about a potential 2nd-round matchup for the women. Oklahoma State has the best player in the Big 12, Brittany Martin. She's a 6'2" forward who can go inside, outside, and a tremendous athlete. She averages 20 points, 11 boards, and 3 steals a game.
Wow, that's a lot.
She is going to get a nightmare matchup in Devin Hunter, who is one of the best athletes on the team. So I expect Oklahoma State to advance. Now, let's look beyond that a little bit, Mike, okay? They're in Baylor's region. Baylor's going to play at home in Dallas. Louisville is a really, really good 3-seed, and they're playing really well right now, and they've got one of the best freshmen in the country in Asia Durr. All that being said, Oregon State leads the country in field goal percentage defense. Defense wins you championships. If they can advance, first of all, they got to take care of business at home, right? They are in the position now where they can't be getting upset at home. So you take care of business, you get to the Sweet 16. You match up eventually with Louisville. That's going to be tough. Jeff Wall is one of the best coaches in America. They're going to speed you up. They're going to press you. Then if they can get past that, they have the size to compete with Baylor on the inside. And I would take Scott in a chess match against pretty much anyone. So I think they have a shot at going to the Final Four.
I love the sound of that, and their whole mindset is better this year about hosting. They're not just being at home, taking that for granted. They have work to do. Time now for the Les Schwab Quick Fix. Les Schwab doing the right thing since 1952. And this guy, a quick fix artist in a very real sense.
No
in
kidding.
A short period of time, look what Scott Rueck has done.
It was not that long ago, Mike, that they were having open tryouts to fill the roster. You know, thinking about Jamie Wisner, a senior, the Pac-12 Player of the Year. Her freshman year, they struggled to win 10 games. Now, they went out in the second round last year. They got upset by Gonzaga. Seed-wise, it was a huge upset. Gonzaga had, you know, a lot of momentum. They'd been in the tournament a lot. Wayne Tinkle's daughter, Ellie, one of my favorite players in college basketball, led them that game. But then, you know, the women right now are playing so much better than they were a year ago. They are rolling right now, you guys.
Yes.
They, you know, breeze through the conference tournament. Breeze through is probably a little too generous, but take care of business.
Their defense is so good.
Their defense
But the game is never in doubt. Like, there's never been a time where you were watching them in the conference tournament and it felt like, oh, they might lose this game.
Yeah, or I thought like, oh my gosh, they're playing terrible. What's going on? The big three, Jamie Wisner, Ruth Hamlin, Sydney Weiss are playing great. And multiple Pac-12 coaches said up in Seattle that they think this is the best Ruth has ever played.
Yeah, they're playing at such a high level right now. So we're excited to see what's going to unfold at Gill. What a great day Friday. The men first, the women in the middle. Beaver baseball, Pac-12 opener Friday night. That's a good
Mike,
Friday in Beaver Nation.
Did you cry when the Beavers made the tournament
I did.
on
I
Sunday?
had tears in my eyes.
Thug tears, though, Mike. Tell her, thug tears.
Thug tears.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, there were tears. I'm not sure how to, but it was a sweet, emotional moment. And as Talkin Beavers continues, we will, I don't know if we'll shed any more tears, but this man has certainly raised the emotions for Beaver Nation and his team with a great job that he's done. We'll talk about the Beavers' chances and the Pac-12 next. Gill Coliseum, which will be rocking this weekend for the Oregon State women's basketball team, hosting for the second straight year in the NCAA tournament. The Oregon State men on Friday, of course, as we've been talking about, taking on the havoc of the pressing attack of VCU. But a guy that can help Lamar and Lindsay in terms of being a one-man press breaker and the 25-point career high against Cal, the emergence of P.J. Bruce helps the Beavers against anybody.
What happened in the studio, Lamar? Were you just losing your mind watching this game? Because I was in shock.
I was. You know, we got to give this kid some credit because, as I alluded to earlier on, the committee, they were probably watching this game. They watch games of those bubble teams or teams at the top of the field, you know, to see who should be a one seed. And that's where the eye test comes into play. Without P.J. Bruce's play in the first half, Oregon State probably got ran out the gym.
I agree.
Because GP2 wasn't able to create anything. Malcolm, nobody else was able to create, and I understand why. Cal probably has the best man-to-man defense in the conference along with Oregon. They have the length, athleticism, they're smart, they can switch stuff, they got 2 7-footers.
Also, they probably didn't anticipate him. I don't know
he
if
went
he
on
was
the
even
scouting
on the
report.
scouting report.
They tried putting everybody on him.
They did. But he got in that groove.
At that point.
And you have to be able to create space. That's the tough part. Like, some guys can just catch and shoot. It's tough for guys to make a move, step back, and create, and then knock it down. So I give him a lot of credit, even for the Beavers getting that 7 seed, because that eye test, they passed it with flying colors.
And it appears that the Pac-12 conference itself, based on what the committee did in awarding 7 bids, passed the eye test. It's time for our Comcast business class built for service. 7 in, Lamar.
7 in, but their work is just about to get started because the entire country is going to be watching those opening round games, waiting for Pac-12 teams to lose left and right so that they can say, see, we told you so. They're not as good. Their RPI numbers were inflated. And so the conference teams have to be ready to go. And this is going to be tough because only Oregon has what you would consider the clear victory. The other 6 teams have tough matchups in their first game.
They do, but I still have some beliefs, first of all, in Utah and Jakob Patel, who no one can guard him if they can find a way to put the ball inside to him. And my fingers are crossed that Gonzaga wins their first round game because I would like to see a Sabonis-Jakob matchup.
You know the tough part about that, though, Lindsay? Utah's playing Fresno State in their first game, who just won the Mountain West. I did Fresno State's game at Arizona earlier this year. It was a tied game with about 6 minutes left to go.
Well, Arizona probably couldn't defend the three of us, so I'm not sure that that's saying
Lamar,
much.
let me ask. Charles Barkley said on the selection show, how much Charles watches, I don't know, but I tended to agree. He said Cal may have the most talent in the country next to North Carolina. Yes?
Well, Charles also said there aren't any pretty women in San Antonio, and there are. I'm from Texas.
Okay.
But
is he right on the Cal thing?
you know, he's close with that one.
Yeah.
He is close. You look at their top 6. It involves Jaylen Brown playing well. He's 9 of 42 in his last 4 games. If he doesn't play well, then no. But
They
if
got
he
a lot
does,
of weapons.
they got a lot of.
They can go to the Final Four. They have the talent.
You know what, Lamar, thanks for calling your shot that they were going to make it. You said they would. You knew this was coming.
Look, GP2 knew too.
We want to tell you that next week, whether we're going to Dallas or Anaheim, neither, both, whatever, we'll be back next Monday night, 7:30, for another Talkin' Beavers. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody.